Hello and welcome to What We Know. My name is Jake and I am here with the magnanimous, wonderful, other big words in which I do not know what they mean, Sam Delev. Thank you so much, Sam, for continuing to work on this project with me and not run away immediately.
Well, running isn't my specialty, and it turns out I enjoy it. And I guess today we're going to find out whether people will enjoy Starfinder 2nd Edition, because my understanding is new playtest just dropped. Jake, tell us about it.
Yes, so at Gen Con this year, we knew it was going to happen, but at Gen Con this year, Paizo came out and dropped the Starfinder 2nd Edition playtest, and it came in with, if you had a subscription to Starfinder, you would also get the hardcover book, you will get the actual physical copy of the book, but the PDF is online for anyone that wants to test the game out. The game itself does require you to have either some basic knowledge of Pathfinder 2nd Edition or be willing to scroll through Archives of Nethys to be able to get some of the rules, because it does not give you a lot of the base rules, or at least a lot of the tangential rules. Like it gives you some basics of like what 3 actions mean or what these symbols mean, but it's not the full rule list that you would be getting from Pathfinder 2nd Edition. But with this, we're getting a bunch of ancestries, we're getting backgrounds, and we are getting their classes that they're going to be dropping in the core when the actual game comes out. Maybe more. We don't know, but these are the ones that at least they want to test out. I will say there is some stuff that is missing. Very, very important stuff in my eyes that is missing. But you're going to have to stick around and find out what I think that is. Starting us off, we do get a handful of ancestries. We actually, 12 ancestries? You're going to have the same ancestries. And again, the way that they're building this system is that you can take your Pathfinder character and play it in Starfinder. And so you can play any of your Pathfinder ancestries that exist in that game and plop them into this system. But for this, they did have a couple of the same. So they have androids and humans, which are in both Pathfinder and Starfinder. There is some like slightly different rules for the android, which they did play test earlier on, but there are some Starfinder specific classes that you won't be seeing, like the Vesk, the Yoski,
the Barathu. A couple days ago, Jake sent me a no context picture of them asking, "What do you think this is?" I know your guess was jellyfish on acid. Tragically familiar with just how weird nature can be. Mm-hmm. I think it looks like some kind of just actual mollusk with actual malice, who lives out in our real nature somewhere. But please do tell us what you think the Barathu look like, and whether or not you think they're cursed. We need to know that as well.
The way that I described it in the notes was a creature that looks like Hunter S. Thompson and Lovecraft collabed on its design. So that's kind of what I feel like it looks like. But you have a bunch of different, specific to Starfinder. So you have the Shirin, which are basically District 9 characters. The Yoski, which are definitely not rat folk.
Legally distinct from ratfolk in every way. Don't call them ratfolk. They're Ysoki. It's totally different. We super promise. Trust me, bro.
But then we also got some classes. We're going to see the Envoy, the Mystic, the Operative, the Soldier, the Solarian, and the Witch Warper as the starting classes that we're going to be seeing from them. Now, some of these were in the original core book, and some of them weren't. Like, for example, the Witch Warper was not in the original core of the book, and it is now. To give you just real brief descriptions of these classes, the Envoy, think if a bard was actually a warlord, that's kind of what this class is. They're charisma based, and that's where they are. But they very much are like, yo, cap that fool, and everyone gets bonuses for capping that fool. Mystics are healers that use magical networks that connect them and their allies to allow them to heal them. Operatives are very similar to rogues, except for, and I'll be honest with you, I would kind of be okay with this as a change for like the rogue class moving forward in all like systems, instead of, you do a thing and you get sneak attack. It literally is, you do a thing, and on your turn, you just add this damage, which is very cool to me. It's like, oh, you spend one action, you succeed at that. Well, guess what? All of your subsequent attacks are going to also get bonus damage. It's not like each time you attack, you have to be like, okay, I have to try to sneak attack in this very hyper situation. I have to get behind them, and I have to make sure I have advantage for D&D or blah, blah, blah. This is just like, I try a thing, guess what? I succeed, and now I do an additional D4 of damage. Cool. And then that goes up. The Solarian is a strength-based class that uses gravity and light as its power, which I think is very cool. The Soldier, which is a gun-toting, very cool, badass, like literally creates area of effect gun bullets where they're just like shooting up in the air and everything's falling down, which I think is very fun. And then my favorite class, the Witch Warper, which is a class that uses being able to have timey-wimey involved with your gameplay, which is very fun, and I really, really love that kind of class. Now, that is what is in this, and I'm excited to play. And in fact, it also came, and you can't really see it because it's out of focus, but it also came with a campaign book for the playtest, so you can actually play through different sections of it and be able to kind of test the game out and see where it hits, where it misses, and I love that they came out with that. This is very similar to what they did for Pathfinder, but with Pathfinder, it was like, here is this level, here's this level, here's this level, and oh, by the way, here's this level where your players are going to die. Like, no matter what they do, they're going to die. We need to test if like what's too hard and what's too easy, which got them a bunch of backlash in the original playtest, because players did not like having to play a playtest where they were absolutely going to die.
We don't like ever losing ever at anything as players. So, where we have to, and we definitely can't win, we're gonna get very oppositional and very cranky, and maybe I could have used a nap. I'm sorry.
Now, the one thing that is very, very clearly missing, and it's so we kind of had this conversation in the beginning, and I feel like I should clarify. I don't think it's a negative. I'm just wary now. So there is no ship combat in the playtest.
How much ship combat?
None.
Oh, but that's very little.
Exactly. Which is weird for a playtest, in my opinion, because if you're going to have, ship combat, I feel like that is one of the things that should be play tested, because I think it's always the most contentious thing within a game, because it's not usually it's its own kind of system, right? Because you might be a soldier, but you can't use a gun on your ship to shoot another player, and if you're a witch warper and you're doing timey-wimey things, how is that a good pilot position? Is that a good gunner position? Like engine side, like where do I fit? And in the previous Starfinder, there was definitely like a Star Trek, like everyone had a position on the ship. You had a pilot, you had engineering, and they had their own roles that they could do, moving shields on the ship to make it like have better things and like mobility. Like, so there was like a whole, like in itself, its own system in the previous Starfinder. And so the fact that we're not seeing that is very interesting. And I looked it up to see if they had made any comments about it, and I did not see it on their forum. And so I'm very curious. Like, they're very silent about it. So I'm hoping that's something that once they get enough feedback of what they this is, that we'll see another playtest maybe a couple months down the line for ship combat. That's what I'm hoping, but
I'm hoping this is it. I'm hoping they don't have it. As someone who loves being in spaceships, who has done a ton of ship combat in my own little ship as a fighter, as a member of the bridge crew on a big ship, I've done tons of ship combat. You know what would actually be wildly unique and exciting in a space sci-fi TTRPG? Not making me learn a whole extra system on top where I can't use most of my build in any kind of meaningful way, because that's just not a big part of how you play this particular space sci-fi. So it's entirely possible that, like, as you say, Jake, we're gonna get like a second round of playtest that's like, here's everything about ship combat. But if this is really what we're gonna get, that might be the most exciting thing for me, because it's so different than so many of the things we currently have in the space sci-fi TTRPG space. All of them have a view combat system. What is your game like if it isn't about ships going pew pew at each other? How it's a creative constraint that I think can challenge the storytelling in interesting different ways and potentially make Starfinder not feel like every other space sci-fi.
If they didn't, I would be thoroughly surprised, because from what I know of Paizo, they are going to give you all of the rules to do absolutely everything that your imagination could come up with, and then give you the option to use them or not. Versus like other systems, which are just like, here's some base rules and then you can come up with the rest. At least with Pathfinder and previous Starfinders, they're going to be like, here's a metric fuck ton of rules, only use what you want. And I if they change that with Starfinder 2nd edition, I would be utterly surprised if they actually did that. But I could be wrong.
I mean, every game, even Pathfinder, is not truly maximalist. There is always something you don't have. In Pathfinder, they don't have a ship combat system for spaceships because that's not a part of the setting in the design space. It's deliberately excluded. So, like, there's always going to be something that doesn't fit into the game's vision that they don't include. Again, in all probability, you're right, there will probably be a rule set, but what if there isn't? What if maybe it's because that really does sharply force the direction of the game, if that is the case. And we'll just have to see. For some people, it will be a negative like it is for you. For some people, it'll be a positive like it is for me. And it would definitely counter a lot of expectations, which is why it raises so many questions at this stage of Starfinder 2e playtesting. But now that we're here and we're looking over it in the new ancestries, you get the new classes and also a handful of additional backgrounds, obviously some bespoke equipment and so on. How are you feeling about it right now?
So I'm very excited. So we had filmed a Starfinder game, which is still being edited because I have no sense of time. And so there's a Starfinder game that we recorded a year ago that I have been editing. It's 10 episodes. Give me a break. And I feel like if I were to cut out the amount of times that I say, man, I wish there was a Starfinder 2nd edition,
it would just be 5 episodes instead.
Yeah. Like it like there were so many times where I just got flustered with the Starfinder system that I was just like, wow, this game really like it doesn't feel polished. It doesn't feel as polished as like Pathfinder 2nd edition does. And so when I was playing Starfinder, I was just like, wow, I really wish this existed. And now that the playtest exists, I'm absolutely going to be running the campaign. I've read through the books. I love I love the sci-fi. I love sci-fi. Sci-fi is very fun, and I don't get to play or run enough sci-fi in my opinion. And so having a system that is that I already know and I can just plop sci-fi in and use Starfinder is really, really exciting for me. And so I'm loving it so far. Haven't got to run it yet. I've just been reading and prepping for it. So once I actually run, I might, you might see me on Blue Sky like ranting and raving about how shitty it is. But so far, from what I've read, I like it. I also love some of the theming. Like, they're being cheeky. They're being like, there's literally an ability called 360 no scope. Like, that's
I love when the designers and the writers get to have fun.
Like, that's fun to me. Like, I love like that, and so yeah, I'm very excited to see where this goes. And again, like I said, we want to do a season 2 of the Starfinder game. We will definitely be moving it to Starfinder 2nd edition because the massive upgrade from 1st edition to now is huge. Like, organizational wise, just how things are organized, how things are laid out, how the like, people can argue with me. I still think even if you don't like Pathfinder 2nd edition, it does have some of the most interesting action economy within combat. I like the 3 action system. I like that different actions take different or different things that you want to do take a different number of actions, and it allows you to do something multiple times without sacrificing something else. And there's a lot to play with that. And
if you disagree with Jake's take on the action system, please leave your master's thesis length comment below.
You'll see Sam Delev pinned as they're the first person to go in and comment about how much they hate the action economy, I'm sure, but still.
It's perfectly nice. Do I think it is a great innovation in the space? Nah. Is it a perfectly good action system? Totally.
See, and this is what I will say about that is I think that innovation and good aren't necessarily the same thing, right? Something can be very innovative and very interesting, but if it's difficult to get other people to understand and go through it, or it stumbles over itself too much, that's where like the big issue I have. I feel like the Pathfinder system is very good because you're able to use a lot of what you learn or what you have learned from the most popular system that's out there, D&D, with its standard action, movement action, bonus action system, to then kind of go, oh, this is an easy transition from one to the other. It's not a difficult thing to learn if you know one to the other. And I think that that's why I think that's why I like it. And I think it's one of the better, is because I don't have to learn an entire new system. There are just some basic fundamental changes that allow me to do that. But we're not here to discuss the, overall rule system of Pathfinder and whatnot. You asked a very interesting question, which is, who is this for?
I think you've kind of outlined and embody, in fact, at least one of the groups who should be interested in checking out Starfinder, namely people who were already bought into the 1st edition of Starfinder and desperately wish it were a better version of itself. Congratulations, one is coming very soon, and so far there is good cause for optimism based on what we're seeing from this playtest, and based on that, well, under the hood, this is going to be Pathfinder 2nd edition rule set compatible. So if you like what you have seen thus far in the engine, and Starfinder 1E felt kinda ka-clunk to you, people like you, people like Jake, are very much going to be bought into it. So beyond that, though, people who already were into Starfinder, sure, you're going to be checking out Starfinder 2nd edition, regardless of what I say, whatever Jake say, you're going to be checking it out. Good for you. Okay. Who else should be looking into it? So I think one of those groups is people who like space sci-fi might check out this one. It does get, pleasantly, a little weirder than a lot of space sci-fi. If we have sci-fis based not even on the intellectual property, but even just based on the vibes of Star Wars, the vibes of Star Trek, the vibes of Dune, all of those are circumscribed within a much smaller design space. When I look at Starfinder 2nd Edition, this gives me Guardians of the Galaxy kind of vibes, in terms of a much broader array of ancestries, of classes, the things that you can do to interface with the world. Look, there wasn't going to be a mollusk with malice in most space sci-fi, and so if you're into the weird stuff, and we do the weird stuff, then Starfinder 2E might be something of interest to you. But I think, perhaps above all, you alluded at the very beginning of this video to a group who might not have been thinking of Starfinder 2E, but I think definitely should. Y'all, do you want your Pathfinder party to go to space? Do you just want your existing party to go to space? With all that flavor from Pathfinder. But now, they are in space. This is how you do that. And that's very cool and very fun and a very weird fit in a very delightful way.
I couldn't say it any better. I mean, we all know that I like weird shit, and this is it. And so I'm sold, but I was also sold before. So I mean, I feel like here's my Paizo coin. You know, take it. Here's my Paizo coin. You get it.
Okay, so if people are as bought in as you, what is next? When are we going to be finding out more, seeing more? What should people keep an eye out for coming up?
So, I mean, I can't tell you because I don't know, but more than likely, this is my guess, is if it's going to be anything like last year, if it's going to be anything like Pathfinder 2nd Edition, we're going to probably see the Starfinder 2nd Edition full release Gen Con next year. That if they just copy and paste what they did for Pathfinder 2nd Edition, which it feels like they're going to be doing, I think that's what we're going to see. We're probably going to be seeing a bunch of erratas, which they're going to be posting on their social media and on their website, which they do quite frequently update. I will be honest, when they do playtest. So we might be seeing a bunch of erratas. I'm assuming that in a few months we're going to be seeing ship combat. That will also be on there. Stick around. Maybe I can convince Sam and Noir. Actually, I've already convinced Noir, so I don't even need to do this. But maybe I can convince Sam to play in a streamed Starfinder game that we do. Maybe I'll run Cosmic Birthday for us.
Let us know if you want to see it in the comments. See, after the master thesis on the action economy, take your time. We can make
multiple comments. It's best, you know. Also, I discovered this, and I'm going to start doing it more often. Apparently, when I say hit the subscribe button, the subscribe button glows. Like a rainbow goes around it. And you know, if anything we know about what we know and Althaven, it's pretty gay. So hit the subscribe button so you can see the rainbow.
So if you found stars while watching today's Starfinder episode, drop that like, make rainbows happen, and let us know what you think of these first looks into Starfinder 2nd Edition in the comments below. You can also catch us on twitch.tv/Althaven_, where we stream RPG content. Join the conversation on our Althaven Discord. And if you want to support us, you can do so on coffee.com/Althaven. But until next time, make like Starfinder and keep it weird, Internet.